Okay, welcome to the January 13th, 2022 Planning Board of the Town of Southampton. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021 and January 15th, 2022, all of the board's meetings will be held remotely via video conference. So we ask the public to continually check the town's website for updates and information. Can we have a pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
nation,
nation
under God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for all. So let me just read the rest of this notice before we get into the actual meeting. We have a full agenda posted on the town's website for today's meeting. The town's planning staff, as well as applicants and their representatives, will be participating via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. Charles Certain will be muting and holding the speakers in a virtual waiting room until it's their time to give testimony before the board. A reminder that applicants and their agents should state their name and address for the record. As is typical, there are no public comments allowed during our daytime meetings, nor is it appropriate for the public to use the chat function to comment on applications. The link to participate in this meeting via Zoom can be found on the town's website. This meeting is also being live streamed on the town's website on the town clerk's meeting portal. If you're having difficulty accessing the meeting, please visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Board members who must recuse themselves from any application will state so on the record and will be removed from the meeting until the end of the discussion and vote on the application. Finally, in accordance with the legislation, this meeting will be recorded and transcribed at a later date and will be made available to the public. So thank you. And with that, Gloria, can we have a roll call, please?
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Dennis is on his way.
He's on his way. Great, thank you.
Chair LaFaro,
Present.
Vice Chair Finnerty is absent at the moment. Secretary is here. Board Member Zuccarelli,
Present.
Board Member Long,
Present.
Board Member Catalinato,
Present.
and new Board Member George Mutu.
Mutu. George, you're muted again.
No.
Okay.
Mutu, yes, present.
Yeah,
Welcome.
so we have a quorum. Do we have any minutes to approve, Gloria?
Yes, September 9 and September 23.
September 9 and 23. May I have a motion to accept? Motion by Craig, second by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? So just a few items before we get into the meat of some of the applications. First, welcome George. George Mutu is our new planning board member. Welcome, George. Some of us know you from many years ago, and it's good to see you again. Nice addition. Secondly, we need to elect a secretary for this year, and so I'm nominating Gloria Burke, and so I nominate Gloria and ask for a vote of approval for Gloria for secretary. Second by Robin.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Gloria, you are it. Thank you very much for doing this. It's very detailed work. Also, to let you know that as of February 10, we will change the public hearing to 7 o'clock. So that's gives us a bit more time during the day to have discussions on the various applications because the agendas have been heavy. So that's a perfect segue for the next item. We have Matthew is out and Anthony is out. So the agenda is changing today. So let's just quickly take a look at your agendas and I'll let you know what's on and what's off. Claire will offer extensions, but number one, we have to do a formal motion, right? Claire.
Yes.
So number one, Hampton Bays Fire District, being changed to January 27th. Can I have a motion for that?
Motion.
Motion by Robin, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent. The same with number 2, Jacqueline Cressy to January 27th. Can I have a motion? By
Motion.
Zuccarelli, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Number 4, Curtis, Heimowitz, and Nussbaum, also going to January 27th. Can I have a motion for that? Motion by Craig, second by Zuccarelli, all in favor.
Aye.
6 in favor, 1 absent. Number 7, 1456 SRR, moving to January 27th. May I have a motion for that? Zuccarelli, motion by Zuccarelli, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Number 8, Verizon Wireless to January 27. A motion by Robin, second by Zuccarelli, all in 6 in favor, 1 absent. Number 10, Bridge Petroleum to February 10th. Motion for that by Zuccarelli, second by Robin, all in favor, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Number 10 is off the agenda. That was the town board has already voted on it, so that's off.
Number 20, you mean? Number 20.
Number 20. So that's it. Claire is stepping in for Matthew and Anthony on extensions and others. So we really have to look at that, the January 27th agenda, Claire, to make sure we're not completely inundated.
Right, we'll take a look at it. Yep.
So are you taking number 3 for
I am. I'll bring it up.
Northside Hills?
Yeah, I'll bring it up and just explain it. This is pretty pro forma. This is a covenant amendment to increase the maximum allowable clearing from 30%, which is what was approved, to 50%, which is what's permitted under the zoning code. So I'm just going to share my screen. This is the law. It's actually currently in conformance, and they're bringing that up per the code. That's the resolution prior to this. Condition is the filed amended covenant and submission of the amended covenant to the planning division. And those are the
We've seen many of these before. Where
We have,
it's
yes.
just- Any discussion on it? If not, a motion to accept the covenant amendment
Motion.
by Gloria and second by Zuccarelli, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so 6 in favor, 1 absent. So we're jumping to the estates.
Thank you all.
Excuse me? Someone say something I missed?
John said thank you.
Oh, the estates at Remsenburg. Jackie, that's you. It's
Yes.
actual deadline.
Yeah, so the performance bond expired and we're looking, we haven't seen much activity. We've been working with them closely, but we're still waiting on the as-built because there's some drainage issues. Oh, and if Doug Adams is present, can you please let him in? But Doug Adams is the engineer and he's also the SWIP coordinator on the project. So we are asking to keep the performance bond up to date and extend it. I am proposing to extend it until August 31st. They're hoping to finalize. Some of the drainage might be located out of the right of way. So we're waiting for that as-built to see where exactly those pools are located because they're right on the shoulder and they might be encroaching onto one of the properties. So that'll need to be handled. And I propose August 31st because that will give them enough time in the spring to figure that out. If we need easements, we can handle that. And then with a snow removal contract through next winter.
So this is just to extend the
current performance bond. Yeah, the current bond is in the amount of $270. So I'm recommending to extend that until August 31st, 2022.
325,000.
325,270. Yeah.
Okay. And it's held how?
Currently, it's with a letter of credit. So they'll have to provide a new performance bond and a new form of surety.
Okay. Motion on that?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, by Robin, second by Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Jackie, you have M4 Lumber Holdings.
Yes, so I wanted to give the planning board an update. We have, although if you could please let in Brian Lacasio, and I believe Mike Bonte is president. And then just let me make sure I have the information up on my screen.
There's Brian.
Hi, Brian. Is Mike joining us?
Mike?
He's not here.
Said he's on. Yeah, he should be coming in.
Okay, great.
He's on? I don't see his name.
Okay. Can you guys all see the
Yes,
aerial?
we can see the map. Yep.
Okay, so just as a reminder, this is M4. We're doing a 4-lot subdivision with an ag reserve that's in an L shape. We have a drainage course you can see from here, but there's a larger track where the swale comes. So we have been exploring this and working very closely with the applicant and their representatives. This was the previous configuration with the drainage swale here, but we were aware of this new swale here. At one point in time, we were thinking about diverting the water and just utilizing the existing drainage easement. But, because of the common driveway and the swale and, no control over this property, we actually ended up moving back to allowing basically 2 drainage easements to allow the swale to basically stay where, it currently is. So we have a swale here and a swale there. But with that, they did have to do some amendments, which, providing these swales, part of it will be within the ag easement. And part of it will be on lot 1 over here. So this has the swale here and they kind of come to a Y. So we really want to leave nature alone in this case. But we are currently still reviewing the common driveway plans, which we did have some revisions to the calculations, which I just received today. So this was comments that the applicant received, and then we have a response letter that we just received today. So I just wanted to give you a basic update that we're moving along. The common driveway plan is, has been drafted, but if you guys are comfortable with the configuration of it has to push the lot slightly this way. And I have to admit, I forget exactly how much, about like 45 feet, it would shift a lot, but then it would provide for unobstructed drainage easements within the ag reserve parcel. So that way property owners can't basically, landscape within the important drainage easement area. So they are going to work on a revised survey, but we wanted to provide you with the updates on this so that they can move forward with the survey. And Brian, I don't know if you want to touch upon any other topics.
No, I think you hit it pretty good. We just, wanted some clear direction because we're going to need to get it, modified with the health department and have the survey updated. And before we undertook all those, we just wanted to make sure we had, a consensus with the board that this plan was acceptable. I think, as Jackie stated, it kind of does address all the comments that were raised back last spring, and we're kind of allowing Mother Nature to continue its course, as you said, rather than try and divert it along the driveway. And a lot of concerns that were raised, and we presented before you a few months back about in the freezing months and how the water would build up or overflow over the driveway. So I come to a good plan, and Tom's been working with us, and I think we're very close.
Yep.
Yeah, and those are pretty strong swales. I live on Lumber Lane, so many of them come down and go under the overpass.
Yeah. So
what happens to the property to the south with these swales?
well, thankfully, we planned for the native area, that's the low-lying area, to be a conservation easement. So that is all preserved vegetation for the Willentis and Engelbrecht. Do you remember that, Jackie?
Yeah.
So right to the south here, there's a conservation easement, which it'll flow onto nicely. So essentially, we're having one drainage easement here, one drainage easement here, but to allow and accommodate these drainage easements, rather than having them on private property, it is going to shift the property line over a little bit on the ag reserve. But we minimize that as much as possible to still make it functional.
Okay. So is our action here to move the deadline on this?
Yeah, so, I was just gonna say, Brian, do you know what a reasonable turnaround is on the survey? Because instead of bringing this back, I'd like to work with you internally and get the survey up to date. Because once I have the survey and it seems like the planning board's on board, we can move forward with the modified conditional approval.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we'd obviously like to get as close to an approval as we can. I'd need to speak with Fox on that, but I mean, maybe 30 days be reasonable.
Do you
I'll
wanna-
try and get it like much quicker, but I
Okay.
just, surveyors are all overwhelmed right now.
Well, and we do need everything 8 days prior to the meeting so that I can get everything uploaded to be reviewed by the planning board. So do you want to do February 10th, or I guess the next one would be February 24th?
24th might be safer.
Yeah, and if you're ready before that, I'm happy to put it on because we've been working very closely on this and.
Yeah, as long as you can give me that option, I'm okay with 24th, as long as if we can get our ducks in a row. 'Cause I know the applicant is very eager to see this to completion, as
That's fine.
you
But
are
I
as a
think that
board,
can-
because it's been on your agenda for a long time, so.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that works.
Okay, so Jackie, you'll get a letter to the,
Yeah.
Jeff, excuse me, I do have just one question.
Sure.
Um, Obviously, it's an ag reserve, so we want to have farming there. What does the swale do to our ability, to the applicant's ability to actually farm? Is it
Well,
big
that-
now? And
Right now it's passive. It was historically farmed. So it does move over in very heavy rain events, which are normally in the winter or spring. But it will still be conducive to farming. I tried to make the modifications to the agri reserve as little as possible so that we
We
still
have as
have.
minimal change to the grading as possible.
Yes. Yeah. So we're trying to help the water kind of stay within those drainage easements, but then we really ask them to leave, not grade any of the ag reserve. So it will passively flow over just like it's doing now and just like it's done historically.
okay, thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
okay, any other questions? Can I have a motion then to extend this to February 24th?
Motion.
By George, motion by George, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Okay, then we're moving on to
Thank you.
Claire. Thank you. To Claire, you're doing the bridge staff housing. Mhm.
Yes, I am. So I just realized that the staff report did not make it into the packet, but I will put it on the screen and we can go through it. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to ask that Jake Watkins be let in for item number 9, or 9, Charles. Thank you. So I'm going to start to go through it. I'll give you a little history especially for George, since this is maybe new to him. I'll look at the aerial. So there's the existing employee housing, and the board recently approved some employee housing right here to essentially, as the applicant represented, to take the 47 beds that were permitted and spread them out on the site. And with that, with this latest iteration, there's also an additional building going in this area, about 4,000 square feet. That is going on. So I have those plans attached. So this is the rendering showing the new building. This is a maintenance building that was approved as part of this this employee housing site plan that was approved earlier last year. So I have the staff report. I'll go through it unless the board has any questions.
Yeah, Claire, I know we looked at this a while ago, but we've been looking at a bunch of staff housing. We added 16 more bedrooms for existing staff. This is an additional 16. Is that? And
No,
is it?
Go ahead.
And is it how many? And is it new staff?
So it's explained in here and also on the floor plans, which I think I can show you also if you want me to bring that up. So I put it under the use section. So the existing amount of beds in that existing building. So the building had a certain amount of rooms and they doubled up the beds. So it would be more than one person in the rooms.
Right.
In this case, this is everyone gets their own facility. Everyone gets their own bedroom. And so the beds have actually decreased, and the applicant's representative is here, so he can represent this too, has gone down by 8 total. So the density is actually decreased with these proposals.
So how many bedrooms before and how many bedrooms after? And how
That's
many
two
bodies?
different things. The bedrooms is maybe different. That might be a different count. We're doing beds here. And that was what was represented, but we could have the applicant maybe answer that question. Jake, do you want to, I'll stop sharing. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, no, let me just get the right number here so I don't misquote.
And just
we put it-
introduce yourself. I'm sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
Sorry, Jake Watkins, Roger Ferris and Partners Architects. The total number of beds when the original application was adopted in 2010, the total number of bedrooms was 23. And that's for the original structure that was built. When the site plan was adopted in 2021, last year, for the container housing, we essentially increased the number of, we transitioned 8 of those units, those bedrooms, to the containers. So the same number of rooms existed, 23 rooms. The big difference there is that the beds went from a double occupancy to a single occupancy. So the number of beds went from 47 to 23. What we're proposing with this most recent amendment is to increase the number of bedrooms by 16 single occupancy bedrooms for a total count of 39 beds.
39 rooms and 39 beds.
Right.
39 beds, a total number of rooms would be 39. That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good question. So I'll go through the staff report unless somebody else has a question.
Go ahead, Claire.
Thanks. We didn't get a lot of responses from the referral agencies. I just want to give a little history. So that was, it's a 16 unit building, 5,900 square feet. And that describes the maps. It was unlisted action and the board adopted a negative declaration on November 18th. We waived the public hearing and no comments were received with a company closing on December 20th. The referrals, we received ones from town engineer and ARB. The ARB, I'm sorry, I'm gonna switch to my referral page. The ARB approved the project and the town engineer had a number of notations, but they did recommend approval. So I've left these as conditions to the project. The applicant has actually since submitted a new plan, but the town engineer just hasn't responded yet. So, but that will be a condition of approval. Go back to the reports. Site plan standards, the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, they are shown to be in conformance. There's additional 0.4 clearing, but they're permitted up to 127 and there's only 111 acres cleared. So they're under the requirements. And we require a survey prior to the issuance of a CO. ARB approved it. You just need to note the colors and types of materials on the building. That needs to be noted as part of the plan submitted for signature. Traffic access, it's over a private road known as the bridge. Parking, the original site plan approved 30 parking spaces and 1 garage space is installed and 25 parking spaces for land bank. The proposal would not generate additional parking as no new employee housing is proposed. The lighting seems to be conformance, just a notation that 3,000 Kelvin shall be used instead of 4,000 and our typical requirements. And they are proposing a new sanitary system with this building and it will be an IA system and no public address system. They have no information, but solar panels are encouraged and the building should be constructed to accommodate future solar. I'll have this as a condition if I don't. And the use, it was determined to be accessory to the golf course as determined by the chief building inspector. And this talks about the reduction in the number of beds. I'll outline a little bit more, Florian, if you want, the number of bedrooms versus beds.
It's kind of confusing because we've kind of seen this in 2 parts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the original container and now this, and it just helps me to put the original and then the 2 changes in one place to make sense.
Yep, that makes sense to me. So we'll have that as more. I'll put this information, but also speak to the bedrooms and the how many bedrooms are resulting for the project, which is also 39. So if the board has any questions, I have a resolution with some conditions.
Dennis is here. Welcome, Dennis. Sure. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, great. Resolution, here's the plans. Go back to the resolution. So the resolved is approve this, adopts the report and modifies the site plan. Hereby approved with the following conditions. Any comments from the fire marshal should be addressed. Any comments from the town engineer should be addressed. Note the current disturbance label as the approved area of disturbance on the disturbance plan. Modify the lights 3000 Kelvin. Note the color of the roof siding. Comply with fire district and fire marshal requirements as a general condition. HVAC systems and other utilities screened. Typical lighting requirements. No public address system. Oh, I was going to say, should we have the general condition related to being solar ready on the building? I'm not quite sure.
Yes, definitely. I was just going to ask that if we could include it.
Yep,
Absolutely.
I'll put that as a note.
Mhm.
Jake, you have no problems with that, right?
Solar ready is fine. No problems.
Great. And then the requirements for speedies, pre-construction meeting, town engineer, the SWIP requirements, and an affidavit, 6 sets of plans, and then as-built survey indicating limit of clearing. That's a typical requirement. In this case, there's no revegetation proposed. There is with the previous project. So I'm going to take out 7B. It's not required. So I'll have that removed from it.
You ought to, Claire, you ought to go back to your staff report and take out the word revegetation with a question mark.
Okay.
It goes back to look at it, going to get a little confused.
I'm going to remove that too. Yeah, that reference. Thank you. Okay, I am suggesting that you adopt the conditional resolution for site plan.
Motion for adoption by Robin, second by someone, by Craig. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Are we 7? 7?
Yes.
Right, yes, not used to that number. 7 in favor. Jake, before you go, this is a question. I don't know if you can answer it or not. Is there any connection between the golf course and this new housing development that's coming up, that's been proposed? They're advertising in the newspapers for very large custom-made houses.
No, actually, it's 2 separate lots. I mean, the golf course is on one lot, and there are private residences that each have their own individual lots in very close proximity to the golf course.
So those are the lots that are being developed, I guess, right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Did we have an application recently for a site plan for one of those lots, which I think was part of the stipulation for the original subdivision.
I'm not sure about that, Gloria. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Jackie, do you remember what I'm referring to?
I don't. Could be, but I don't remember it. So, okay. Thank you, Jake. We're moving on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Claire, you have NRP, the report that you
Ew.
sent us, which is a compilation of our notes, right?
Yes, this is the compilation of
comments.
your notes from the December 16th meeting. So I'll
Yeah.
put it up on the screen. If you have anything else to share, that would be helpful. I just start off in this report giving a little summary of how you came to look at this. You got a secret coordination request from the town board and relinquished lead agency. At the same time, you said to the board that you'd like to have some comments related to the environmental impacts on the project. So we put this back on for the December 16th meeting and had some, I took some notes, and this is hopefully the culmination of all that. In here, I have a statement from the planning board, if you agree, that these are your comments on the significant environmental issues pursuant to SECR, which concludes that the action being considered by the town board has the potential for significant environmental impacts to the environment, for impacts to land, groundwater, aesthetics, transportation, energy, human health, consistency with community plans, and consistency with community character. And this is just the description from the applicant's submission of the project. So I thought that was a good summary of what's going on in terms of a proposal. So with your comments, impact the construction of 9 buildings for affordable housing and the associated infrastructure, including 226 parking spaces. Impact on the density and land, impact of clearing of land associated with proposal, impacts on soil and associated drainage to be installed, speedies and SWIP requirements to be, I should say, to be met in that case. So I'm going to say that. Or addressed. Do you want me to go in each section, and if you have something to add, you just want to do it that way? I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't know what the board wants to do.
Yeah.
So if that's satisfying, we'll go on to groundwater.
Yeah.
Okay. Impact on groundwater, impact of sewage treatment plant, possibility of STP to accommodate the flow from the adjacent trailer park that was brought up. Environmental concerns with the existing car wash and laundry facility to be connected to the STP. That was a question mark. Impact on the existing groundwater wells of SCW, Suffolk County Water Authority. And will any new wells be required? Impact of density on groundwater. Anything else to add?
That seems those have covered all our comments.
Okay, good. Impact on aesthetics. The impact of the sewage treatment plant and its proximity to the adjacent trailer park was a comment. Impact of use, which is contrast to the surrounding community character.
Right.
Anything else to be added with that? Okay.
No.
This is impact on transportation. As I was writing this, we might want to say a couple more specific things, but I'll just do the summary. Impact of traffic on nearby roadways, including the country road of South Country Road. Sorry. Field investigation and collection shall include peak times, accurate seasonal counts. This one, I thought maybe we want to elaborate. Do you want to mention the nearby intersections?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I may comment,
Sure.
Claire. So in particular, everything in this area, kind of feeds towards the intersection with Montauk Highway, where South Country Road meets Montauk Highway, which is a particularly tricky intersection to navigate, especially in the mornings when school, between 7 and 7:30 when school's in session, and you have a lot of traffic coming from East Quogue and Remsenburg on Montauk, and then even now a number of vehicles coming out onto Montauk Highway to get to school and get to work. The configuration of that intersection also is a little bit tricky because the angle of the road meeting is a very sharp angle, and you actually have to be looking over your left shoulder quite acutely to even see what's coming up the road. Montauk Highway is around a corner at that point too, so it becomes very difficult for people to go across. I've seen people try to go across there, make a left turn across traffic at high speed. So, I think that intersection in particular has to be looked at because I imagine that a good portion of that traffic from this site would in fact be feeding into that intersection, especially in the mornings. It may even extend as far as intersection of Montauk Highway and Wood River Road, because right now I've seen traffic backed up probably a quarter mile at that point when, for that half-hour period when school's in session. You can take 3 or 4 light changes just to get through that one intersection, which has become very difficult in the morning. So, that's kind of a extent of that. So how many people go through Homestead or Fairview to get to Montauk Highway is, or even Carwin might need to be looked at as well. You might want to make that turn to go east. It's all those traffic movements you got to think about.
So George, you mentioned sight lines, so that's at the intersection, right? You said you have to look over your shoulder left, so
Yeah.
they should look at sight lines as well.
But that's off-site, right? That's where South Country Road meets Montauk Highway.
Mhm.
I mean, the other thing, even on South Country Road, and again, I speak to this just because I do live in the area, so I'm very familiar with South Country Road and what's been going on there. I have kids who went to school in the school district, and one actually had an accident at that intersection once. Luckily, it was very minor. So I am very familiar with that, with the traffic situation around this area. Even South Country Road, which is a low speed posted sign, is posted at 30 miles per hour, but it is an open roadway, and I would say speed is typically more in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range across where that entrance is going to be coming on to South Country Road, because it is a wide open road. Even though it's posted at 30, I expect the speeds are much higher usually. So just my input on that.
Great.
I think a lot of these issues are going to be flushed out in the
Right.
the scoping session in secret. There's certainly traffic. I know that intersection very well too, George. It's I remember once I had suffering from a pinched nerve in my shoulder, trying to rotating out to look down the Montauk Highway to merge into traffic. So
yeah, my concern is that Fairview and Homestead, which are two residential roads there, may become cut throughs to avoid that corner.
Oh, they
that
will.
George was speaking of.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I imagine even Corwin Lane, which is the new Postfields development road of South Country, would going to Meeting House, would probably also see some traffic going down that road for people trying to get around, going back to Montauk Highway.
Claire, was one of the issues, one of the items in the EAF the conformance with adopted land use plans?
I do have that later on. Do you want to take a peek at that? Do you want me to say that under transportation also?
No. I just wanted to make sure that was going to be covered.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can touch on it later on, but we can have some language.
Good.
There is one item also here on that. I'm sorry, do you have that report back up?
Oh, yes, I'll put the report back. I just wanted, you were speaking, so I like to see your faces.
No, that's okay. Yeah, also impact of transportation, there was an interesting comment here on the impact of increasing the household by 16.6%. I think that's an actual count. It just says per police department correspondence.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's on the number of households, right? We're adding 104 households, feel like, through apartments. I'm curious to know too, if there is given full occupancy of those 104 units, what the actual impact on population of Quire, the hamlet itself is. Is it higher than that, or is it a higher percentage? Because that also dictates how many trips what is saying is an increase of the number of households and the impact of the number of people living in the hamlet might shed a slightly different light on the impacts of transportation needs.
I think you covered that elsewhere, Claire. I think, because we did discuss that.
Okay.
Can I just
You know
go?
what?
back to-
I'll add that though too.
Yeah, maybe with a little bullet. Oh, you do have bullets, yeah.
Just staying on the traffic, it says that the collection will be during peak times, accurate seasonal counts. I think we have to be careful also with school counts, because there might be a diminishing of buses or school traffic because of COVID. I don't know what effect that has had on buses and school traffic. George, you brought that up. I think we should have some cognizance of the effects of COVID on school traffic, buses, students traveling back and forth, as to how much there's going to be, online learning, and we should pick that up.
Well, even people working from home right now, like we are right now, could have an impact on what you see out there in the roads right now.
Yeah, so I think that has to be considered in any of these these counts.
Well, basically it's the effect of COVID on transportation, plus and minus. Less because people are not traveling to their offices, or the school, but maybe more because there are more people here. So it's a complex subject. But we should note that that's something we should think about.
Mhm.
And the last point, maybe on transportation, you know, I noted, you know, it's in the site plan, the way it's laid out, that for a development of this size, there is only one access entry exit point to the whole development on South Country Road. I don't know if at any point it was considered or viable to have a secondary access, you know, to somewhere else, maybe Carwin Lane or ideally to Montauk Highway as a right turn only to alleviate some of that traffic coming out of the South Country, that everybody doesn't come that way. That may also, you know, assist with firefighting operations, the police operations. So I think the applicant could look at that also.
So Claire, you're going to augment then this whole section on impact on transportation, given all the further input we've had.
Yes,
Yeah, and when you revise it, just send us a copy so we'll have it for our records.
I will.
Thanks.
I do. I have your notes from
Hey,
that.
Claire,
That's great.
Claire, did we ever find out what the configuration of the apartments would be in terms of, you know, studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom?
I looked at it. I don't think there's a studio. It's 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. They only, what I saw.
Can I help you out with that, Claire?
Yeah, did you get a count?
This was discussed at a town board meeting yesterday. And I happened to look at it just because I knew it was on our agenda as well today. And the rep from NRP, I forgot his name, gave a breakdown. 41 bedroom apartments, 48 2-bedroom apartments, and 16 3-bedroom apartments is what he stated at the town board meeting.
John Bennett for the applicant. That's accurate.
Okay.
And
Hey, John,
how do we
hi, John, how are you?
determine,
Thank you, George. Go ahead, Craig.
I'm sorry, how do we determine the maximum occupancy if built out as the applicant is requesting?
That would be based upon the.
John, we're going through the, I know you're,
My apologies. I'm
Yes,
just trying to be
thank
helpful.
you.
My apologies. My apologies.
thank you. Claire, go ahead.
So how do we do I'm gonna take me off the screen again. So your question, Craig, is how do you do the build out of how much is the occupancy? Let's put that as a question, right?
Yeah, I'd like to know
Okay.
what maximum occupancy would be.
Okay.
Thank you.
What
Yep.
category would we put that under, Claire? Do we have a miscellaneous category?
Well, we could do it on impact on land, but anything it would impact, you would just have it impact on land or
Everything.
Transportation and school district.
Yeah,
Yep.
general impacts or,
Mhm.
Maybe impacts and then list the potential impacts.
yeah.
Anything, so I'm saying impact on land, transportation, community character. Does that sound right?
Somehow, I mean, I think the school issue is a fairly large one because that's a very small school. is my-
Impact on schools, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, make that a separate impact.
Well, they have to build a new building.
Well, are we off transportation?
Yeah, let's,
Well, a couple of other items came up.
That would come under growth inducing or,
And where you put them.
yeah, we gotta.
So we need another category, is what we're
Well,
looking for.
is the growth inducing, isn't that a category, Claire?
No, I would say community character or impact
Growth
on human
inducing
health.
impacts? No?
Hmm?
There's no growth inducing impacts?
No, not anymore.
Oh.
But maybe human health.
No,
Health, you said?
it's community plans and community character.
Yeah, we have community character. That's what I thought. But we can go through it. If there's another place we want to put it,
Right.
we can.
So just make a miscellaneous list and then we can plug them in where we think they belong.
Where are we on the EAF? I lost.
In energy now. We're up to
Energy?
energy. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, you further on, I say the impacts on schools, additional school age children, and the community plans, right? So that would be part of that, I thought.
Right.
Mhm.
We can add to that. Do you want me to do this to energy? It's just additional use of energy associated with the project and lack of information about solar and other methods to mitigate the use of energy and assist in the affordability of the utility cost. That was an issue brought up.
What about water, Claire? Impact on water usage.
Okay, I have that under
Yeah, that's-
groundwater, but if you
Oh,
want
you
to
do
say
have
anything,
it. Okay.
yeah,
It should also be, well, it is groundwater. It's the drink, how much drinkable water you're gonna have to pull out of the ground. I
Yeah,
think you have something, yes, you have this water authority in there.
you
so
have it
that
up there, yeah.
covers it.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So energy, are we, okay, you have solar here?
Mhm, mhm. And you had mentioned the affordability, you know, having this, you know, energy conservation methods and other will make it more affordable for people to live there if the project goes forward. So I
Should
thought that
we,
was a good point.
should we address how the apartments are gonna be heated and cooled?
Yeah, we,
That's a good one.
okay. Do that. Impact on human health. I thought transportation was a big one. Impact on the stress of the community services, with police protection.
That's where you can insert maybe the school language,
Okay,
community services.
okay. So, impact of,
Including schools,
density.
police protection, schools, school population.
Separate bullet.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that the school district would be very easy to give us an answer based on how many more kids, whether they need to build another school.
Right.
I mean, do they have can they add 5 kids, but if they add 50, they have to, that's a huge impact.
You know,
Mhm.
I'm just thinking here, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I know that West Hampton School District, they have an issue with accepting students with special needs. Oftentimes the students are sent to other schools like Eastport South Manor and Center Moriches School. So this may not be a conversation with one school district. It might actually be a conversation with a couple of different school districts to gauge what that, the impact might be on, those other districts as well that work in concert with West Hampton.
Good point, Joe.
That is a
Right.
good point. Okay. Or other school district that might provide services, right?
Mhm.
I mean, if you're speaking to special, potential for special needs students, let's not also forget Eastern Suffolk BOCES, who is one of the biggest
BOCES, right.
special services.
Okay. Okay.
Community plans.
Yeah, community plans. This may capture some of this too. Project inconsistent with the 1999 comprehensive plan update in this area was to recommend to remain as low density residential. Alternative in form of an as of right yield subdivision shall be included. Affordable housing goals to be located in and adjacent to hamlet centers, and the site is not located adjacent to any hamlet centers or adjacent villages. Affordable housing goal of equitably dispersing in all parts of the town. The site is immediately adjacent to another town affordable housing project and also adjacent to a pre-existing non-conforming high-density development, the trailer park. Impact of additional school-age children on the school district, verified number of anticipated school children. And I'm going to add your comments too in this section related to the impacts on the other school districts who provide services. Multi-family planned residential development zone is proposed and permitted if it meets the standards under, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to put the quote in. I will. And then inconsistent with sustainability goals as stated in the sustainability plan. Anything else?
Should you add something that the overall goal for affordable housing is to have small units dispersed throughout the town? I mean, where this is putting it all in one place, you're kind of saying that, but in a different way. I don't
Okay.
know.
No, I can say that. I would put that right underneath
Well, Claire,
standards.
do we have anything in our plan directing affordable housing to be targeted more to the eastern side of the canal? I mean, when you look at the affordable housing projects of the last few years, you know, the Spionk and the one across the street and this one, and there's a whole slew of them centered on the west side of the canal. And I thought there was supposed to be an effort to rebalance some of this affordable housing, especially in light of the traffic issues we're having.
That's what I was trying to say, Dennis, but less.
Yeah. Was there any policy directive sort of nailed down in that regard, or was it just sort of discussion?
I think it's a discussion, right? I don't remember anything in the plan, and I'm sorry. I should have, read it again before
It
this.
would be helpful if we had a blueprint of how many affordable units there are east of the canal. They're not, what I know of, they're not in one hunk like this, but there's some in Bridgehampton, there are some, closer to Watermill, they're around. I don't know what that total number
There
is.
is Madam Chair, there is Sandy Hollow, which is east of the canal in Shinnecock Hills, Tuckahoe area.
Okay, good.
I think that was 15 units, and Bridgehampton, you're talking about on the turnpike, I think they had 6 or 8 units there.
Attached
One just in
houses.
Watermill, that was 2.
2 and
I'm
1.
wondering how this is all balancing out with what we're seeing west of the canal.
It's definitely lopsided.
To a ratio, but there again, that's probably a secret.
We should ask, we should ask for, I think you have to look at an overall.
Yeah, under secret, I think
Yeah.
when we do our scoping on this, we're going to ask for that.
Yeah.
It's a symptom of the affordability of land in conjunction with Article 330-8, which allows for 12 units per acre if the project is deemed affordable. So, those higher priced parcels to the east are going, more inclined to be private homes, and the larger parcels here in the west are more desirable for developers to put up affordability. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's the reality of dollars and that 330-8 part of our code.
These are zone changes, so this is not an as of right. This is not an as of right development.
Right, it's got to go through the multifamily zone change.
Yeah, so it's incumbent upon the town board to factor that in. It's a fair guess that a majority of these, the residents are going to be jumping on Sunrise Highway and end up east of the canal every morning. So at some point we have to address how this is being balanced for the east and the west side of the canal.
Yeah. Now, Claire, do you know if this is is this a state tax credit application similar to that of Sandy Hollow and Spionk?
Yeah.
I'm going to say I'm guessing yes, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay. Yeah, because I think the funding happens at a certain density, so they need to get a certain yield per acre in order to get that state funding.
Okay, Claire, continuing.
Yeah.
Are we up to community character now?
We are, yes. And so this is the entrance to the project along the road with the country character. Use may be in direct contrast with the main low density character of the area. The majority of the development in the area to the northeast and south is low density residential. Impact of the use, which is in contrast with the surrounding community character. Impact of type of management of the property and how it will be maintained. Anything else you want to add to that?
Or any other loose, unattached comments that we
I know. We'll find a spot for it. Whatever comments it is.
You think we've covered it?
Yep.
If we've covered it, then Claire, you'll send us a revision. Are we going to adopt this now?
I recommend that, yes.
Okay, so to a
I'm-
motion to adopt by Dennis as amended, and Claire will send us an amended copy, second by Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Thanks, Claire. That captured a lot.
Yeah, that was a really good take on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now,
Up on next two.
Claire is taking 12 from Matthew. Dennis, you missed it, but we have a lot of stuff off the agenda.
I know, Patty. Actually, I got it from Patty.
Okay,
So, yeah, I'm up to speed.
good.
Hey, Patty.
So this is completeness on Radiswell.
Right, this is a lot line modification of, involves 4 lots. And this is a pre-application. Let me just show you the map real quick. That is the aerial. You can see the existing lot location, and this is the proposal. So that's the proposal.
So they're really creating some odd shaped lots, aren't they?
Those are actually where the current lots, that first page.
Yeah, so this is the resulting.
That's the transfer.
Brian, this is you, Brian?
Yeah, sorry, Brian Locascio with the Adam Miller Group, the
Great,
attorney
thank
for the
you.
applicant. I think if you keep scrolling, Claire, you should get, we're essentially creating conforming lots as to zoning. There is some uniqueness in the shape, but they're going to be more conforming lots resulting.
Okay,
Yeah, that should help you, right?
Correct. That is correct.
Okay. So then we've got all the basic information for the deem it complete. I think there's room on February 10th. And we'll set the hearing time for 7 p.m. if that's good
Okay.
for the board.
so can I have a motion to complete this and set the public hearing? Dennis? Motion by Dennis, second by George, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor.
And then I have some.
All right. Thank you again. Have a nice day all.
Thank you,
Thank
Brian. Claire, you're taking 13, 14, and 15.
Yes, and 16. I have extensions for each project. The dates for the extension are in the report, but they're essentially 1 year for the first item, which is a pre-submission, pre-application report.
So that would take it to January of 2023?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so can we have a motion for that extension? Motion by George, second by Zuccarelli, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor.
And then Idleweed is an extension of the approval for the pre-application till March 7th, 2022.
2, okay. Motion for this extension, motion by Gloria, second by Robin, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. And then
Okay.
32 South Phillips,
It's a 1-year extension for the pre-application report, the first
1 year
one.
extension, so that's to January
2023.
2023. Okay, motion? Motion, by Dennis, second by Zuccarelli, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. And the last is 16, 115, 127 Halsey Lane, a 90-day extension to April 4th, 2022. I have a motion for that. Motion by Gloria, second by, I thought I saw Zuccarelli.
I am. I got the little hand up in the corner.
I see it. It's beautiful in yellow. There it is.
I don't like the color. I like green.
Okay, all in favor? We vote
Aye.
Okay, abstentions, so 7 in favor. Okay, now we have a re-veg plan. Claire, you taking that for
Yeah, for Matt.
Wickatuck?
Share the screen. Into it.
Mm.
3. I just want to show you the the elevation here. I mean, sorry, the aerial. Just want to show it to you real quick. Got it. Yeah, so this is a revegetation. They're going back to the requirements. And I'm gonna just, yeah, maximum clearing of 75%. And this is a revegetation to bring it back into conformance. Everything is in order. We're recommending the approval of the revegetation plan. Okay.
I have a motion to approve the re-veg plan by George, second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. Okay, so we have 2 now thank you, Claire, 2 town board referrals and 1 signed plans. 20 is off. So is David here?
Yeah,
I
He
did
seems-
see
I am
David.
here.
There's David. Hi. Okay, you're on, David.
Jackie,
Okay.
before we do that, I sent the email about town board referrals, but I don't think it went through. Did you receive the email I sent earlier?
No?
Maybe Kathleen, do you know offhand, is this a statutory requirement for the town that we get landmark referrals, or is that just a courtesy thing?
I thought it
No.
was in the town code. It's the referrals in the town code, isn't it, Dave?
Yes, it is. It's a code requirement.
It's a code requirement, okay. Because it just seems to burn up a lot of, I don't know, especially, I guess what prompted me was the length of this agenda coming off the holiday, and it just, these referrals burn up a lot of agenda time
Yep.
for both the board and staff. And when have we ever, what are our comments? No, don't landmark this. I mean,
No, I mean, we're usually very supportive of that. Yeah.
Well, I'll keep it short, and the resolution's already in your packet.
good.
Good. I like the duck, David. You look good against the duck.
He's
Huh?
in his living room with his.
No, I'm in town hall.
And is that
Um,
duck? Do you have that duck on the wall?
No, that's a backdrop.
No, it's just a photograph that I used as a backdrop.
Oh, I kind of like that.
Okay, so you've all obviously read the report. You understand why the Landmarks Board is recommending that this be landmarked. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the current street view in Google Street Views. It's a small little Greek Revival house in Watermill. We have some historic photos of the house. This was in 1910. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. This was when it was owned by the Jones family, and they had a farm in the area. So the picture of the back of the house in 1910. And this is what the house looks like today.
It cleans it up nicely.
Well, it's had this appearance for quite a while, at least since the current owners. But yes, it's very nicely restored. I think in the report there were photographs of the interior that also show that they've maintained the historic character on the interior as well. We go to. So this is the property in context of the surrounding neighborhood. This is New Light Lane right here. This is the little historic building, and you can see all around it are these big mega, mini mansions that are going up in Watermill. So it's really nice that this house is being preserved. It could easily be torn down and a large new residence built there. Give a lot of credit to this property owner for wanting to landmark it.
Okay.
Got
So
one
David,
more.
oh, you want to show us?
Just one more. So this shows, here's Montauk Highway. This is New Light Lane, Kellis Pond. The shopping center is right up here, and this property is located right here. So I'm not going to go into the whole justification, the standards that they meet for being nominated for landmarking. That's all in the report. And unless you have any questions, you can just adopt the report if you're so inclined, adopt the resolution if you're so inclined.
Are there any other questions of David? David, I think we all really support this kind of preservation. It's wonderful to see.
Yeah, I love the fact that we actually get a little of the history to read. So,
Yes, it was great.
Ed Wasnowski does a great job writing up the histories. He made a great presentation to the town board on Tuesday. This was on the town board hearing Tuesday. They tabled action pending your report, and it should be landmarked on January 18th.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, David.
I don't know. Do you do the resos now, or do you hold
Yes.
off and do those?
No, we're going to do it right now.
Okay.
So could I have a motion to accept the report by Zuccarelli, second by
Second.
Robin, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. It is adopted, David.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
And welcome, George. It's great to
Thank
see you on
David.
there.
Welcome, Lucy.
Yeah, you're going to be invaluable to the planning board.
Yes, he's already
care.
there. Thanks. Mike, are you here?
I am. How are you?
I'm good. So you're on.
yes, and we even see you.
I'm sorry?
We even see you.
Yes. Okay, so we are revisiting our medical marijuana dispensaries. I'm gonna just share my screen if that's okay.
Did you write up our notes from the last session?
I have your comments, yes. So I think there's a lot of discussion about saturation being an issue. There is this general concern from the planning board that we'd be seeing a lot of them. And these are some of these topics I kind of wanted to just touch on, because this isn't recreational, this is medical, meaning it's been legal for 8 years. And so when we think about saturation, okay, well, let's look at Long Island as a whole. Where do we see medical marijuana locations? And we have 2 in all of Suffolk, 3 in all of Suffolk County. 1 in Huntington, 1 in Farmingville, and the other in Riverhead. Has anyone happened to notice the one in Riverhead? I'm assuming we frequent there more so than Huntington.
No.
Okay, so unlike recreational, where there's this assumption that, and it's an accurate assumption, I'll just stop sharing for a moment, that there is a influx of a lot of people visiting these stores. This is prescription based. Although they don't get a prescription, they get an ID. And when you go to the pharmacy to pick up your medication, you don't go every day. You go once a month, every other month, whatever it is. So it's kind of a similar situation with foot traffic. So I just wanted to kind of touch on these because, again, this is what when I re-listened to Anthony's presentation, this is what generally came up. There was an issue or a comment regarding 1,500 feet may not be enough between these dispensaries. Again, I'm pointing out the scenario where maybe on all of Long Island, there's 6 between Nassau and Suffolk. But if 1,500 feet doesn't seem, appropriate, I'm taking notes to see what number you would recommend. And then I did make the note of the VB being from permitted to SE. I think that's a good point. And I think just so, and I meant to bring up photographs of what these look like, because often you don't recognize them, you don't see them from the street. They're not advertised in that way. And when you do enter them, it's like entering a bank in perhaps, the Wild West with the amount of security that's there. Security cameras, security guard, there's a waiting or holding station. I don't know what they technically refer to it as. But let's open this up for a dialogue. So it's just not me on my podium. That doesn't exist.
I just want to say, Mike, that part of our job is to look ahead, to look to what if, not only what is.
Correct, right.
We're relying on your research to present to us. You said there are 3 medical marijuana dispensaries. So therefore, I would assume you're proposing or supporting the fact that Southampton should have a medical marijuana.
Well, I'm not proposing that. I'm saying that if we were to have one, we'll have standards that would make sure it fits in our character and our community. But I want to steer the conversation away from this concern that we're going to have cannabis row, which, in the early stages of recreational cannabis, this is what was learned, and planners and municipalities kind of figured out that this wasn't the thing to do. And that was when they first legalized this. The only reason I know about this is because I was sent to the APA in San Francisco on that scholarship. And one of the conferences I attended was all about cannabis. And then I presented that at Molloy College as a recipient of the award for our Long Island APA chapter. So their first notion was, let's shove them all in the industrial area next to other adult uses that we don't want to see. And then we ended up with Cannabis Row. They quickly realized this wasn't a good idea. But this was back in, almost 10 years ago out in the West. On the East Coast, we've taken a different approach. So when we were analyzing the recreational path, I cold called a bunch of police chiefs in Massachusetts, because again, we're not doing this for the first time in our country. We're following other states that have already done it. So let's hear from the police force and the municipal leaders, lessons learned and what their concerns were. And much was benign for the recreational, which again, I don't even want to get into because I want to stay focused on medical, but it's an important point to note. The police chief's first recommendation was, you're going to need traffic cops and porta potties because the lines are so long. And I'm like, that's your general concern of safety? And he goes, absolutely. So it's just, again, Janice here. And she wants me to drive home the point. We're not talking about recreational, just medical. But I know there's some concerns. And so with this code, what we did, so for instance, the 500 feet from the school or 200 feet from the house of worship, that's taken right out of the MRTA law, which is the new law that's come out for recreational, where, okay, this doesn't exist for medical, these guidelines in other municipalities, but anticipating that a medical dispensary may want to convert in the future. Well, let's make sure if that's the case, that they're adhering to the MRTA laws off the bat. So that's where some of these standards came from. I drank too much coffee. Does anyone have any questions?
So the special exception standards are going to be specifically crafted for this medical marijuana use.
Correct.
They are separate and specially crafted. So my comment to the town board is to be sure that those special exception standards have some teeth, and that they look ahead to what can develop as opposed to what actually exists.
Okay.
I mean, historically, Mike, there are areas of this country where medical marijuana dispensaries have certainly been used for recreational use. It's not like they are sainted places. So I think you have to look at all of the what ifs.
They're highly regulated, but highly. If we were to bring in a medical dispensary owner, they would tell you the level of scrutiny and checks and balances that occur at the state level there is no middle ground. But that's New York. I can't speak to other states, but there's a licensing process within the state that is supposed to ensure that that there's teeth, to quote you.
Have you looked at Riverhead's code?
I have. It doesn't have much.
Yeah. See, that's my worry.
That being said,
Big surprise.
If you visit the site, you can't recognize it from the street. There are no cars lined up. You don't even know it's there.
Where is it?
It's been there for years. It's across from so you know where the bowling alley is? I sadly don't know the names of streets in Riverhead. I have our municipality memorized. So it's across from the bowling alley. I guess it's the main street that heads all the way into town, but it's on the north side of town. It's in a small shopping center, and it shares a use with another business, but I'm not sure. I guess I could look it up right now. I mean, I could actually show it on the screen if we want to see it.
Is it over by the DMV?
It's on that street, I think, isn't it?
on that street, but it's further west.
Further west.
Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up.
Do you mean 25A when you refer to that street, or do you refer to 58 when you say that street in relation to the DMV?
I always get confused with those two streets.
What is it, John?
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm asking. I mean, I know what my opinion of this is.
Yeah, the bowling alley is at what is that, 105 and
105 and 58, I think,
It's
58.
off of 25
or 25. It becomes 25.
and it's on East Main Street. Now, if I put this guy, okay, I'm going to share my screen again. One moment. Okay, we all see Google Maps.
Yep.
So here we are is 25. This is the bowling alley, I'm pretty sure.
oh, yeah, okay. So
And-
right on that intersection is the new farmer's market, used to
Right.
be, yeah.
And now this is the site. Nope, it's right here. So I'm pointing at my screen, which of course you can't see. On the right-hand side is another business. On the left-hand side is the Columbia Care, I believe is the name of the business. Because it's medical and not recreational, this isn't a high traffic use. This is our sign. It could be a landscaping company for all I know from out west.
So is that the name of the business, Columbia Care? Is that the middle dark blue
Yes,
facade?
that is there. That's the company.
Could you put your Google map back up, please?
Sure. You don't want to see my face?
I thought I knew where it was, and now I'm not so sure.
You got it. 1 second. So it's saying the medical marijuana is here, but that's actually not where it is. It's here.
So the sign doesn't even say medical marijuana, it just says
No.
Columbia Care or
Correct.
whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever the license is that's given.
correct. The name of the business.
Do doctors, are doctors connected to this in any way?
They are not at the dispensary. So doctors, so when I was Googling, where are these medical marijuana dispensaries? I was actually getting all of these hits for doctors who prescribe licenses to individuals. But at the dispensary itself, it's treated like a pharmacy. You enter, you interact with someone as if they're a pharmacist. They give you your prescription and you leave. There's no other retail that's really taking place there. You wait as if you're at a doctor's office or at a drugstore waiting for your prescriptions.
You said something interesting. You said act as if he were a pharmacist.
Well,
In
I
other
guess-
words, dispensing agent
Mhm.
does not have to be any medical background.
I don't know. In all honesty, they could be a pharmacist. In fact, they might be. I'm
But
not
there's
sure.
There's a likelihood it doesn't have to be, correct?
I couldn't say. I do not know who is handing who's. I mean, I could Google that right now.
Medication, if it's a medical medication, it has to be given in certain quantities over a period of time. And it should be done by someone that knows what they're doing in terms of this medication. It can't be the gentleman that just dropped out of high school and needs a job.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
it
sure that's
doesn't-
regulated by the state, though. I'm
It
sure
is?
that.
Well, I like to know what the law is.
Where can we find the state? Is it listed, Kathleen, under medical marijuana, New York State licensing law?
Yeah, I can get you some information on that, Madam Chair.
Okay.
So dispensaries are not pharmacies. They are designated caregivers to assist patients in the process. Dispensaries are permitted to distribute only medical cannabis products. So it looks like, according to Buffalo University, New York's medical cannabis law, it is its own title.
Okay.
Not a pharmacist, but not a drug dealer, John.
All right.
But a designated caregiver as a
So
dispensary.
they accept the prescription only for cannabis.
Correct. And it comes as a card. And that card is linked to a profile that they have to create, the individual have to create on NewYorkState.gov, and that has their prescription. So the card itself doesn't say what they require, but when the dispensary looks up the dosage, it says high THC, low THC, and the quantity that one is allowed to purchase at a single time.
We had problems with certain psychiatric drugs were given for depression, etc. And when they looked at certain doctors, they were given 10 and 20,000 prescriptions a year, if not more. Will there be any control on how many prescriptions any one physician can give? Because there were cases in California in which, where the dispensary was, 1 or 2 doors down or a block away was a medical operative, I could say, who was ever allowed to write a prescription. A doctor, an optometrist, maybe a nurse practitioner, and they found that it was a high rate of prescriptions given out of that one area, and people had most of the same problem: depression, anxiety, and that was the prescription. Now, the point is, we don't want the state becoming the marijuana distributor that was illegal at one time. I've seen no real studies on what particular problem, medical problem, that marijuana took care of. Where it was needed, there was no other medication that could do it. But that's another question. My question is, I don't want to see a dispensary in which we have traffic coming in and out all day for the marijuana.
I understand. Again, I'm just going to reiterate this, because this is not recreational and you're required to have a prescription. And again, you don't get the prescription at this site. You're getting that elsewhere. All of our doctors could give us a prescription for medical marijuana at this point. This is a low traffic volume situation. Recreational may be a different story, but will also probably depend on how many other sites are located. A lot of the other examples were on the border of New York State when one state was legal and the other was illegal. So they had an increase of people, increase of sales. So let's try, let's remove the recreational concern, and as well as the who's giving the licenses and what medical marijuana can actually treat, because none of us are technically savvy in that regard, but we are when it comes to what this should look like and where we would like it in our community when we use zoning to do that, and you're all aware.
Michelangelo, can I ask how you addressed the concern of saturation?
Sure.
In any particular village or area? And are we going to address the concept of conversion? Meaning, those two are my concerns on zoning.
Yeah, okay, so saturation. Again, I brought up the example of within 8 years, we have 6 on Long Island, 3 in Suffolk County, who service 1.5 million people. So there's only 3. So the state must have a licensing protocol that is selective as to where they go. That's why we don't have a row of liquor stores, because we know the state is involved in that process. We put a 1,500-foot limit, totally open to expanding that. It's whatever you recommend as the planning board. If you want to make that mile and a half. The only real law that I pulled at MRTA law, which is a recreational, was the proximity to schools and houses of worship, which we put in our medical just for the sake of conversion. That if they were to convert, at least know that you can't get around this, that from the beginning you should be thinking about this. Conversion is going to be something that we need to think about, because ultimately, while medical is low traffic, recreational is going to be high traffic, and we are not going to want that in certain areas. But at the same time, we might not want recreational in VB, despite academically speaking, it may make sense to put them in a downtown area. You have a lot of foot traffic and a lot of commerce, but politically speaking, there could be concerns about that. So conversion is something we're going to have to address under the recreational law, but the state's going to have to address it as well. We don't know what that looks like at this time.
Okay, so this is a referral, and these are the questions that our board members are asking.
Sure.
So I think that needs to be included, as a bullet. We are concerned with conversion rates and how it happens. I mean, these are legitimate questions.
Okay.
I mean, I
also
think
saturation.
clearly,
I'm sorry, Gloria, and if I can just finish it.
yeah, finish, please.
It's saturation. I don't know if 1,500 feet satisfies that, but I think we should address or take a look at the saturation issue so we don't take certain, because that is a concern of the public, that we don't take certain communities and have multiple. I know right now we don't. I appreciate that, Michelangelo, but we as planners have to plan for the future.
Yeah, and I'm
So
sorry I keep emphasizing it. It's just,
No, I appreciate, because I appreciate your experience and your research, and I'm trying to be respectful of that.
Yeah.
But I still have a innate concern that we don't have areas that get saturated, and that we are protecting against that. And in our special exceptions rulings have enough distance, and that there is something in there regarding conversion or saturation of the two together. So that is a different issue. You might not have a lot of medical, but how many medical and recreational would you also like to have in a particular area? So I think the two saturation questions come up at,
Okay, so what would be the comment there? I guess how distance from recreational sales as well.
Yeah.
I'll reword it.
Yeah, I'm concerned about, we didn't opt out. So
Right.
we're going to start looking at that. So I want to start looking at these issues together, meaning you might have recreational, medical distanced enough from each other, and you might be right. There might never be a demand for two of them in any one business district. But I would like it to be considered also in face of residential, recreational. How many of those and the medical are together? So I'd like to look at these issues together. They're,
Okay.
they
So
will have an effect.
I'll make so I have three comments really. It's conversion to recreational,
Mhm.
how that works. And again, I'll play with the wording. The other is distance from recreational facilities as well, with regard to concern saturation. And the other is special exception standards should anticipate, future expansion and so I think that's it. Is it something I'm missing?
If I may just add and maybe it's there. I think there should be some statement that says, because you have the ability to have a medical marijuana facility in X place based on the special exception rules, that does not preclude you converting it to recreational marijuana. That will have to be a separate application with its own standards, so that there's not a lawsuit saying, well, you let me do this, why do I have to go back and
Are
do
we
that?
allowed to put that kind of language, Kathleen?
I mean, I hear you. We can draft something. I don't think that'll be an issue. It's an entirely separate license to be issued by the state for recreational dispensaries within the town. Just because you apply for a license to dispense within the town doesn't mean that the state will grant you one. So I hear you. I don't know that the concern that somebody will assume that a medical dispensary equals recreational dispensary license is something that would be likely, but because of the regulation attached to this, but we can articulate that for you.
Yeah, it's a conversion issue again.
Yeah.
Converting.
And like Michael said, the real conversion discussion will come in the legislation that zones the recreational marijuana.
When is that coming, Kathleen?
It's in process, but we're still waiting for the state to come out with some of its guidance and its recommendations as it relates to dispensaries and licenses and how they're going to be issuing those licenses. We know some things, but we don't know a lot yet. So it's being worked on, but I can't give you a time frame.
But again, that's mostly with regards to recreational. It'll really only apply to medical with the notion of transitioning, which, I imagine they'd probably have to forego one license to it and maybe just have to apply to a whole other one. But that's a major assumption that I should probably not make at this time.
That's what I'm saying. It's such an unknown. I think we should just note the concern.
The concerns, yeah.
You got it. So I have those comments. Do we want to adopt this now? And then I will circulate those comments to you all.
Does anybody else have any comments that we need to add to this? Okay, I think they're pretty straightforward as long as you've captured our concerns, because this happened the last time where our concerns were expressed and, Janice wanted further clarification, didn't quite understand where we were coming from. So,
I think this was a more productive conversation. And while I appreciate Anthony sitting in for me when I was getting my booster shot, he didn't do the background research that I've been doing since, I guess, 2018 on this topic. Thank you, Marie.
You're welcome. And we appreciate you getting your booster shot. Thank you.
Yeah, and we appreciate you taking that APA course and getting a scholarship. I mean, it's good to know. I tend to agree with John Zuccarelli on a lot of this stuff, So.
Okay, well, so is there a motion then? Do we want to adopt the comments?
Yeah, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Robin, second by Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, one abstention,
Okay,
6 in favor.
so I'll get these comments to you and then I'll get to the town
Please,
board. You got it. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Okay, so we have done the agenda, acknowledgement of a signature here.
Claire, will you use my stamp?
I'm going to use your stamp now that you're the secretary.
Jedi holding,
Okay, I'll do that.
acknowledging that signature. Okay, so we're reconvening at 6 o'clock tonight.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt if I may.
Yes.
There was a secondary agenda that got circulated with an authorization to allow me to sign a stipulation of settlement as it relates to Iovita.
Right, exactly. Yes, sorry, I didn't have that on this. But
That's
yeah.
okay.
So did you all read that? I think I had a couple of, Greg, we said certainly if you've read the stipulation, that's.
Do we have to go into executive or something else since it's a settlement of a lawsuit? Do we?
I sent an explanatory email early on Friday. If the board would like to adjourn into executive session for those purposes, we can, but we would have to, I would like to then reconvene into open because the matter is on in court before we meet again. I can tell you that it doesn't implicate the planning board's decision in any way. It's a pretty straightforward stipulation. The planning board's conditional approval remains. There's nothing in that conditional approval that's changing. The applicant and the adjacent property owner have agreed on a lighting provision and a fencing provision, both of which are benign for our purposes and a little bit more restrictive than the code would allow. Is that fair to say, Claire?
A little more restrictive, yeah.
So I don't know if you'd like to speak in executive, we can adjourn to executive session, but I can tell you in open session that nothing about the planning board's approval will be implicated by signing this stipulation.
Right. So if there's no more discussion, so that's a motion to accept. Kathleen, what would I say?
Claire, do you have that resolution? Could you bring that up? No? Okay.
I do. Yeah, I do have it. Just I just have to bring, if you bear with me a second, I have to bring it up.
Claire's playing many roles today. Thank you.
So we have 6 applications tonight. It could be a long session. February 27th, we'll look at the agenda to make sure that we are not inundated with reports. Dennis, I do that all the time. I try to get stuff moved off or, what isn't critical and what isn't an action deadline. And I want to thank Robin for recommending that action deadline be indicated on the applications, so that we know what's at action deadline. That's
And
very
I love the fact that when we get everything on Friday,
yeah.
that gives me a little time. I can, spend an hour or two over the weekend to start looking at stuff.
Absolutely.
So that's very helpful.
Did you get the wording, Claire?
Yes, I have
Have
it.
the wording, Kathleen?
I can try and do it from memory. I'm sorry, I don't have it pulled up.
No, I definitely have it. 1 second.
Okay,
Share my screen.
thanks,
Here it
Claire.
is.
Thank you.
You see that?
Just read it, Claire, so.
Sure. The resolve that the planning board of the town of Southampton hereby authorizes the town attorney's office to execute a stipulation of settlement as it relates to the matter of Ayavita et al. Versus the planning board of the town of Southampton et al. Filed at the Supreme Court, Suffolk County, under index number 17-105878 pursuant to the terms and conditions articulated therein.
And just, this was the Tereski application for a site plan, if you remember, for a special trade contractor. And there was a little bit, it might be memorable to some of you because the access by which Tereski comes off of Montauk Highway crosses over Mr. Ayavada's parcel a tiny bit. So I don't know if that helps refresh your recollection.
I remember.
Mhm.
Yep. I'll move
Okay.
it. Adopted.
Okay, so the motion is on the table to move by Dennis, second by
I'll second.
Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Actually, I abstained from this one. I really wasn't part of this original discussion, so
Okay.
I'll abstain from this.
So 6 in favor, 1 abstention. It's passed. Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Dennis, second by Zuccarelli, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. See you at 6 o'clock tonight. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Guys.